Again, warmth. We all know this hadith. A Bedouin. He came from the bush. He doesn't know Islam. He saw a nice quiet place. He came and he urinated. And this man is a Bedouin. The Sahaba wanted to kill him. Can you imagine now someone comes to a masjid and he urinates there? He becomes shaheed. People will kill him straight away. The Sahaba lost it. Some of the Sahaba could not imagine what happened. The Prophet ﷺ said, stop. All the Sahaba stop. Get me some water. No one to stop him. Let him continue. He's a Bedouin. He doesn't know. The Prophet ﷺ said, get me a container of water. So they got him a container of water. He finished and he poured the water on it. And this man looked and he saw the other faces of the Sahaba that wanted to kill him. What did he say? Please remember this. He said, Allahumma arhamni warham Muhammada wa la tarham ma'ana ahada. He said, oh Allah, have mercy upon me and Muhammad, because he doesn't know. He heard there's Muhammad there. He doesn't know that he's Rasulullah. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak. He said, oh Allah, have mercy upon me and upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And don't have mercy onto anyone else, because the others want to kill him. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ضَيَّقْتَ وَاسِعًا. You have limited something which is very wide, which is the mercy of Allah. Respected brothers and sisters, just imagine this. Some of the enemy of Islam loved the Prophet ﷺ. And they were reluctant to embrace Islam because they feel embarrassment. Your character and your behavior is the most important thing when it comes to teaching. Your smile, respected sister. Salaam alaikum, good morning, how are you, young boys? This will open their hearts and they would listen to you. But if you're harsh, no one is going to listen to you. They fear you, they disrespect you. The more that people respect you, the more that they will pay attention to you and the more that they will seek knowledge bi-idhnillahi azza wa jal. Allow me to talk about some of the methods quickly. We all know, alhamdulillah, al-qasas. Stories. Tell them about some of the stories. It doesn't have to be just the qasas al-anbiya. It can be about stories now. Because sometimes, when you tell the kids some of the stories of the prophets and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, you leave a big gap between you and them. Give them something that they can reach. When you come up to your son and say to him, I want you to jump 4 meters. Come on, man, what are you talking about? You killed him. You've destroyed his self-esteem. But when you say, I want you to jump a meter is possible. It's gettable. And that's what I want you guys to do. Sometimes we give them an example. Like some of the guys say, I could never be like the Sahaba. Khalas, I'm not going to follow them. Radiallahu anhu. So give them something that they are capable of doing. And you can mention some of the Sahaba, but not all the Sahaba were Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali. These are the giants of the Sahaba. Give them some of the Sahaba who stuffed up, radiallahu anhu. Some Sahaba made mistakes, big mistakes, radiallahu anhum. Allah is pleased with them. But don't just show them the perfect Sahaba, radiallahu anhu. They are the best of people after the Prophets. You only point out, the Prophets and these great Sahaba. Tell them about some of the Sahaba who stuffed up. One Sahabi, radiallahu anhu, he told the polytheists, al-mushrikeen, the enemy, the plan of the Prophet ﷺ. A Sahabi used to drink alcohol. So you give him that opportunity to come to Allah. And please, I beg you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make them love Allah. Especially being an Arab originally, like I came from Lebanon at an age of 9 years old, and I've been living in Australia now for approximately 45 years. So I've given up my age, huh? I've given you seeing the harshness that exists in some of the Arab world, because I go there every now and then for visit and stuff like that. You'll find that people, some of the kids, they just fear Allah. Because teachers, all they talk about, hell, the punishment in the grave, how your body is going to be ripped apart. Please don't do that. Especially if they're kids, they're teenagers. Tell them to love Allah. Teach them to respect Allah. You know, tell them when someone gives you something, you just imagine, I'll give you $10,000 to a young boy. Tell him, if someone was to give you $10,000, wouldn't you be grateful to him? Wouldn't you thank him? Wouldn't you appreciate it? Wouldn't you respect him? What about the one who's given us eyes and ears and strength and Islam? Make them feel guilty without disgracing them and humiliating them. He's the all-hearer. He's the all-seer. هو السميع العليم البصير. You know, the person who gave you $10,000, you are reluctant and you're hesitant to disappoint him. What about the one who's given you the billions that you have? And if, like for example, Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu ta'ala, he was in a gathering. And one person came up to him and said to him, if I kill a person, would God forgive me? He said, no. And another gathering, a person comes. He said, if I killed a person, would Allah forgive me? He said, yes. So his students are there. They said to him, why the other guy no and this guy yes? He said, because the guy that I said no to him, he's going to kill. So he wants a fatwa from me. As for the person who came and he asked me that question, he has already killed him. I can't tell him no, Allah forgives all sins. Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'an. Allah forgives all sins. So different strategies. Qasas has an immense impact. You know, there's a lot of beautiful stories in this day and age. You know, for example, in Melbourne, Australia, a 13-year-old young girl, she embraced Islam. Her parents went crazy. She stood, she was firm, and subhanAllah, she kept practicing Islam. And now she's married, and she's having a beautiful life, and she's a da'i Allah. She's calling non-Muslims to Allah. Tell people about things that relate to them now. It is so important. Also, alhamdulillah, with this day and age, obviously computers and stuff like that, there's a lot of beneficial things that can be used for the kids. Outings, take them out. You know, sometimes the kids are always like, mashallah, a beautiful day like today. Take them out there. Take them to a zoo. Take them to a camp. Take them to an Islamic museum. Don't always have them in between four walls. Even the coloring of the classroom, make it a bit more interesting. Give him that initiative. Okay, your turn today. You're going to give us a hadith. You're going to give us an ayah. Encourage them. MashaAllah. Give him gifts. The Prophet ﷺ said, Tahaddu, tahabbu. Give presents. Love one another. Your impact is their future. Your influence, your wisdom approach is their future. Wallah al-Azim. It is something that we need to keep in mind. And I love the saying of Umar radiallahu anhu. He said, عَلِّمُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ لِزَمَانٍ غَيْرِ زَمَانِكُمْ. He said, teach your children to an era different than your era. Many parents, and I'm one of those, we used to say, when I was at that age, I used to do this. Excuse me, you are not at their age. They're different. Their body is different. The structure is different. Their ideology is different. I feel sorry for our kids. They were born with iPad in their hand. They know no better. Wallah, we have camps in Melbourne. We have camps. We take the boys, 3 days, and then after that, we take the girls for 3 days. You know what the first thing that we do? Take their phones away from them. The gadgets that had indoctrinated them, that brainwashed them, turned them into zombies. The first thing that we do is take their phones. You know what they do, these kids? After we take their phones, like we have about 40, 50 of them, give us your phones. We'll take their phone and we'll give them the phones at night so they can call their mum and dad for about 10, 15 minutes and then we take them back. We're brutal. So subhanallah, when we actually took the phone of them, they were like zombies. The kids did not know how to communicate. They were just sitting there. Wallahi, it's, they are living at a time totally different than our time. They were shocked. And subhanAllah, after a while, they started to communicate, they started to talk, they started to kick the ball. And parents, you can't just, allow your kids to do whatever they want. Or even teachers. Sometimes you need to encourage them, to push them. I was telling the brothers today, subhanAllah, I was teaching at one of the biggest Islamic schools in Melbourne. It's called At-Taqwa College, if you actually Google it. I think it's got now maybe 1,800 students. And this is government funded, okay? And the parents also pay a fee of maybe $2,000, $3,000, depending on the level of education that's been provided. I was so sad once, wallah. I asked approximately 300 students, because I used to teach high school students, what's your favorite subject? I was so disappointed. Wallahi, I actually went aside and I cried. That's how sad I was. Out of 300 students, maybe 3 or 4 have said Islamic studies. Allah. It's a long stick, so he doesn't have to go far. Bismillah, bang. Wallahi, disgusting. And sometimes, allow me to say, a student will misbehave. The teacher would say, the female teacher would say, I'm going to get you this Syeikh. So I won't do it anymore. So the Syeikh has become the brutal boogeyman. This is wrong. So the method of teaching has to be changed. And please, as the cars always change, we as teachers always need to figure out a way how we can teach the children. We have to do that. There has to be progress. There's progress in building houses. There's progress in cars. There's progress in infrastructure. There has to be also progress in the methods of teaching. For us, we have to keep up with what's happening around the world. We can't say, oh, that's the way it is. No. Excuse me, things have changed. So your methods of teaching has to change. This is something that we need to understand. And please, as I said before, do not compare the kids with other kids. Oh, look at this kid. He's much better than you. Please don't do that. Praise them all the time. MashaAllah, you're doing well. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. That's what they need to hear. This is what encourages them. So respect the brothers and sisters, as I said previously, that we're at the moment doing the greatest role, the most important role. Okay? And we have to really focus on how we can bring this young boy or young girl interested in seeking a boring language, a boring subject according to the majority of people. In the Islamic schools that we have, unfortunately, in Australia, always the last subject, you'll find it's Islamic subject. Why? Because usually the kids, the last subject, the last period, they're tired, they're exhausted, they just want to go home. So it's not interesting. And my advice to teachers, and that was my advice to principals in Melbourne also, if you want to succeed in teaching, it has to be a condition that parents will also come once a month and they will sit down and listen to a lecture. One hand can't clap. Okay? Parents, at the moment, teachers shouldn't be parents, but unfortunately we have to be parents. So you should invite the parents and make it obligatory upon them. You want to enroll your son or daughter in the school? No problem. One condition. Once a month, you must come with them and listen to a lecture. Because you could be teaching your kids something, and when they go home, the parents are teaching something else. So we need to work together with parents. We need to be, we need to make sure that they're involved in the school. Get them involved. Unfortunately, some parents only come once a year to the school. So we need to encourage them. Sometimes we're at fault because we don't, force them, because unfortunately parents don't seem to come, from their own free will. They have to be sometimes forced. So please, if you want a successful pupil, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, student, you need to get the parents involved. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very hard. Because as I said, whatever you're teaching them, they could be taught the total opposite at home. This is something that I wanted just to convey. Obviously, there are many other methods that a person, a teacher should look into deeply so they can, inshallah, attain greater success with the students. But I thought, we would learn from one another. Especially you guys being in the field of teaching. So what we'll do is we'll open the floor bi'ithnillahi azza wa jal, and we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions bi'ithnillahi. Jazakumullah khair. And anyone has any question? No problem. Jazakallah khair. Yes, sister. Salam. Okay.
So I've had some experiences in teaching children, especially these days. I've had to deal with a child, 7 years of age. They're siblings, so one is a boy and one is a girl. They are very intelligent children. Subhanallah, but the mudira of the school, the headmistress, told me that we want to get them out because they're not giving a chance to the other children to study. Because when they come, they need the most attention. They need to be taught one-on-one, and because they're siblings, they want to be in the same class, even though they're not on the same age. So then I said, no, don't give up on them yet. Give me a chance. Give me 2 days. I'll try to talk to them. But Sheikh, because you told me, you told us that fear is not the way, right?
Yeah.
But since before, I keep telling them, this and that about love, and I've always believed that love is the first step towards teaching children. But in this case, it didn't work for them. So I told them about Yom Al-Qiyamah, I told them about Dajjal, I told them about these scary things, and subhanAllah, it worked. The girl before, she didn't want to wear hijab. She's 7 years old, to be fair, but she goes to this international school. So she said, Usala, hijab is such a burden, something I feel like it's not cool. If you wear it, they talk really fast.
MashaAllah.
So I told them, Karima, listen, her name's Karima. Karima, listen, this and that, and then she said, I told her one thing. I said, Rasulullah said that the Qiyamah, and nowadays, Rasulullah's time, he said that it was as close as, both enders. And he said, so now it's going to be closer. She went home and she told her mom, tomorrow I want to go to school and wear hijab.
MashaAllah.
And until today, subhanAllah, she's been keeping it up. But I'm scared that I'm putting in more fear than love. So how would you advise me to balance it out? Because of course I do tell them, yes, this, fear, that. And then they come home with this, and the boy, Adni, his name, used to be swearing a lot. And he says, Ustad, that sucks, S-U-C, I'm sorry. It's not a swear word. He said, I know this because a lot of my friends say it. And they read the Quran, and they're smart children. And so he tries to stand up to me. And I said, even though it's not a bad word, it's not something that you should say because Rasulullah didn't say it. So Rasul didn't know that word in his time. So just a little advice for these kind of special children.
Yeah. Barakallah fik. Well, first of all, Tabarakallah, you always have that in school where some of the kids, Tabarakallah, they're extremely intelligent. And regardless, of how many times you use targhib, sometimes tarhib is the method. But, at the end of the day, she's 7 years old, mashallah, Tabarakallah, that, she's fairly young. And, I would say that, targhib would be always the best method, even though that it might take a bit longer. But sometimes, mashallah, as teachers, we're impatient. We just want to. But alhamdulillah, it worked at the end of the day. But I would, if I was in that position, I would continue on, encouraging her. Because especially talking about the Dajjal, and sometimes it's scary, and because I'm a Raqi. I've been doing ruqya for 33 years. I read on Muslims and non-Muslims. People come from all around the world and I find that some of the kids are affected through the fear that they have, the extreme fear. Okay, because we all know that the shaitan enters into a body in 3 circumstances: extreme fear, extreme anger, and extreme desires. So fear, it's too early. You might be able to use fear later on, maybe allow me to say, وَضْرِبُوهُمْ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ أَبْنَاءُ عَشْرٍ, and hit them at an age of 10. That's when, because as you know, respected sister, that whether it's the hijab or the prayer, it's not compulsory upon them until they reach the age of puberty. So as parents or as teachers, we encourage them until that age, allow me to say. But some people, as I said, through that fear, or maybe sometimes through that threats of being physical, they'll do things, but it's not from their heart. I prefer it's done from the heart for the love of Allah, then the fear of Allah, especially at a young age. If this love of Allah does not work, allow me to say, for 10 years, 12 years, then you use fear. Wallahu a'lam. May Allah bless you, sister, but you're doing a great job. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that her wearing the hijab, it will be very heavy for you in this scale of good deeds. May Allah bless you. And it worked, alhamdulillah.
Sheikh. My name is Zoelmi from Shabab. I just want your opinion on these two matters. The first one is, what is your opinion on boys, especially because we can see it is like a trend worldwide in which boys are more inclined to be a school dropout as compared to girls. What would be their school experience and well-being? How about that? And the second matter is, I think this also is happening worldwide. The effect of pornography and also vaping. I'm a warden. I'm a warden for a hostel warden for boys. And then when I talk to the boys, basically most of them they have problem with pornography. They are good students.
How old are
they?
they?
Good boys.
How old are they? These kids, how old are they? How old?
How old? 13 to 17. So they're in that age in which it's very, very prominent in them. And at the same time, when I asked them up to a point in which some of them they are addicted to pornography. Some of them they memorize the Quran at the same time. So it's not, you put a bad thing together with a good thing. So I just want your opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay, two questions by my respected brother. First of all, in regards of boys dropping out, it's very common. It's a problem that occurs around the world. The kids, the boys are more likely to go out there and get a job and get this over and done with, than for them to go through the methods of teaching for such a long time, or methods of studying to become something. That's in general. This is the case. Girls are more patient because really they have no other option. Okay, really. As for the boys, they don't care. They'll go out there and start working somewhere. It's easier for them. And sometimes it's pressure from parents. Sometimes it's, unfortunately, it's a cultural thing. Where a young boy, 13, 15, they see them that they're not going very well with their studies, so they'll encourage them to go out there and work. And it's something, as parents, again, as teachers and parents, we should do our utmost best to encourage the boys to continue on studying. At least till they finish high school. At least. Because that will help them later on, inshallah, in the future. As in regards of porn, this is the world's problem. This is an addiction. It's an addiction that is destroying homes. This is not just amongst teenagers, amongst mostly men. Men that have grown up. Men that have got children. Grandfathers, allow me to say. It's not much amongst women, but it's amongst men. Unfortunately, it's destroying homes. It's destroying society. The best thing that a person can do as teachers or parents is discourage them. Monitor your kids. Okay? Make sure that there's filters on their phone. Please, respected parents, do not allow your kids to be in their own bedrooms alone. You want to use the internet? Here, in the lounge room, not in your own room. That's when the shaitan is waiting for him in his own room to convince him. And we're not the sons of the Sahaba here. Okay? The desires and temptation is overwhelming. It's not just porn. It's also gambling now. It's online. Okay? It's not just that. Ideologies. SubhanAllah, mother called me a few months back. Her daughter, she graduated and she became a psychologist. Within a short period of time, she left the house. And the mother found out that she's in love with an atheist. The mother almost lost it. She was really affected by it. And she said to me, Abu Hamza, me and my daughter were best friends. We would eat together, we would laugh together, we would go out together. They had this very close bond. And she's overwhelmed. She was, really losing it. What do I do? I said, the only thing that you can do is make dua for her. What can you do? See, parents need to understand, and teachers, it's not enough for my kids and your kids to pray. Praying is the foundation. Fasting is the foundation. But can you live in a house that has only foundation? If you have now foundation in this house here, could you live in it? There's no bedroom. There's no rooms. There's no roof. Islam's like this. Islam, there's pillars. Islam, as you know, shahadatain, salah, siyam, zakat, hajj. But that's pillars. There's more than that. Respecting parents, honoring yourself, abstaining from haram, doing whatever is halal. This completes the house. Many people who pray have gone astray because they think, I'm praying. Why am I doing haram? In the salat tanha an al-fahsha'i wal munkar. Salat prevents you from doing the evil and immoral act. But it's much more than that. Islam is not just salat and siyam and zakat and hajj. It's much more than that. Why do you think ulama and mashayikh are always in the masjid? Why? Because they fear for themselves to go astray. Wallahi, if I didn't come to the masjid regularly and I did not associate with good people and I didn't have the Quran, I would also be astray. I'd also sell drugs. I'd also be a womanizer. So Islam is not as many of us think. Many of us think that Islam is just praying, fasting, hijab, beard. Islam is much more than that. And the Prophet ﷺ said the beautiful hadith. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قلت, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Prophet ﷺ said, the most loved deeds to Allah is what is constant, even though it's little. You want to donate $1 million. Great, Jazakallah khair. But I prefer that you donate $100 every day than donate $1 million one-off. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ said, تُنْقَدْ عُرْوَةِ الْإِسْلَامِ عُرْوَةً. The Prophet ﷺ said, there'll come a time where Islam, he described it as if it's a knots. He said it'll be untied one by one until there's nothing left. And look at this amazing description that the Prophet ﷺ said. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, a person, ما يزال العبد يتأخر عن الصف الأول حتى يلقى في النار. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, a person continues on delaying the first row of the prayer, until he's thrown into the fire. This amazing hadith. A person delays this row. They used to come the first row, especially the brothers, the first row. And then later on they become lazy. Second row, third row, until they're thrown into the fire. In other words, until they've left prayers. We're living at a time, if we don't hold on to our deen, we're going to lose ourselves. Whether it's through porn or through gambling or through just being negligence. Most kids now in this day and age, I don't know how it is here, but I think it's similar. They don't care. They're careless. All they care is about themselves, their looks. It's a major problem. So by us instilling Islam in them, bringing Islam into their hearts, they become caring. They'll love their mum, they love their dad. They will be reluctant to disappoint Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a lot of work to do. Teachers and parents, there's a lot of work to do. This time is it's not like any other time. It's much harder. A successful teacher now is worth 1,000 successful teacher, allow me to say, 100 years ago or 200 years ago. So we have a huge task to fulfill and establish. But the most important thing is we don't despair. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا تَعْجَزْ. And do not despair. Don't give up. Never surrender. Shaitan never surrenders. And his army and his agents, why should we despair? Never give up. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا تَعْجَزْ. Never despair. Please, whatever your task is, whatever you're fulfilled to establish, never despair. Never give up. المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من الضعيف وفي كل خير. The Prophet ﷺ said the strong believer is better and more love to Allah than the weak believer. And in both there's good. Never give up, respected teachers. You are carrying the torch of victory. I beg you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never despair. Never surrender. Because there are people that just have given up on life. The Prophet ﷺ said, من قال أن الناس هلكوا فهو أهلكهم. The Prophet ﷺ said, whomever said that people are finished, they're destroyed, he is the causer of their destruction. Please remember this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ was in the Khandaq, in the trench. And there was a huge rock they weren't able to break. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He grabbed the axe and he smashed the rock. He said, Allahu Akbar. Utitu mafatih Kisra wa Kaysar. And the Sahaba look at him. Is he for real? The Ahzab around him. The sects are around him. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I've been given the keys of Kisra and Kaysar and Yemen. He never lost hope. And that's how it should be. If you want to be a good leader, respected brother, respected sister, never lose hope. You have an objective. Yeah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Arabic or English? من قال أن الناس هلكوا فهو أهلكهم. Whomever says that people are destroyed, he is the causer of their destruction. Okay, and there's another meaning. He is the first that is destroyed. You know, many people say, oh, look at the Muslim situation. Well, now we're better than before. Now there's more awareness of Islamic education more than before. Allow me to say, 50 years ago in Malaysia, how many sisters used to wear the hijab? I can assure you much less than now. In Egypt, 30, 40 years ago, the ones that used to wear hijab, they used to count them in numbers. Amongst 1,000, you might see 2 or 3. Now there are hundreds of thousands. In Australia, when I was there, allow me to say 40, 45 years ago, there was 2, 3 mosques in Melbourne. Now there's 40 mosques, 20 Islamic centers. Muslims, mashallah, tabarakallah, they're showing their Islam. Reverts, they've alhamdulillah accepted Islam. They are propagating Islam. 30 schools we have now approximately in Melbourne. 20 schools, allow me to say. Tabarakallah. So, things are improving. We're just, inshallah, in the long run, inshallah, things are going to take place. There is no doubt. Victory, it will belong to the Muslim. Allah has said, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ala inna nasrallah qareeb. Verily, the victory of Allah is near. Wallahi, the whole world is in need for Islam. The West is destroying itself. The Western world is destroying itself through drugs, alcohol, disrespecting parents, disobeying laws. Islam is the sleeping giant. When Islam wakes up, it's going to drag people out of misery that they're in. Wallah. Through us as teachers and parents, through our ambition, through our determination, through our persistence, through our hope in Allah, through our dua to Allah, we're going to recover from what we're in at the moment, inshallah. Another question? Alhamdulillah, barakallahu feekum. I appreciate that you guys have come at a short notice. I ask Allah to bless you, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this gathering, we'll find it very heavy in the scale of good deeds for us today. Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu feekum, hayakumullah. Barakallahu feekum. Please stay.
For the very short, compact and inspiring speech. So now Allah has